Hi guys, Miss Francis here to talk about population ecology. When you're a population ecologist, you're interested in one species. Why? Of what value is this information? Well, maybe I want to discover if there are any fluctuations in population density, or I want to see if humans are having an effect on the population, or maybe I want to evaluate the biodiversity found within that population. So population ecologists measure density, or the number of individuals per unit area of populations, to answer those questions. Now, they can count individuals, but imagine trying to count individuals of an entire population. Individuals aren't necessarily stationary, so that could be quite a daunting task. Instead, what researchers do is count a certain number of individuals that represent a sample of the population and use that information to estimate population numbers. One sampling technique that researchers use is known as the mark recapture method. Researchers will catch individuals, mark them or tag them, for example, maybe by putting a band around the individual's foot if it's a bird maybe, or tagging a fin with a GPS tracker if the individuals we're looking at are whales. And then after a period of time, after these individuals have been released, researchers will recapture individuals, noting how many of them are marked in order to estimate relative population size. And scientists have actually developed an equation to help them calculate population size. So let's say, for example, these researchers captured 10 blue-footed boobies. So the total number captured is 10. And they marked all 10 of them. So the total number marked is 10. I released them, or the researchers released them back into the Galapagos Islands where they're from. And then within a year, or after a year, the researchers recapture the same number of blue-footed boobies. They recapture 10 blue-footed boobies. And out of those 10, 2 of them are marked. So now researchers can use this information to estimate the original population to be 50. Organisms spread out or disperse in different ways, where dispersion is the pattern of spacing among individuals within geographic boundaries. And there are different dispersal patterns. These dispersal patterns actually provide researchers with insights into the relationships or the associations and the social interactions between individuals and their environment. So we're going to take a look at 3 spacing patterns. The first spacing pattern that we're going to look at is when individuals are clumped, or they aggregate in a certain area. They aggregate in patches. For example, wolves who aggregate in packs, fish who aggregate in schools, birds who aggregate in flocks. So why might these individuals clump together? Well, maybe it's for protection or for hunting purposes. In other words, they work together in order to capture whatever individual they are using as food. Another spacing pattern is a uniform spacing pattern, where individuals are evenly spaced and they stake out and defend their territory. Why might a uniform pattern of dispersion occur? Well, there's probably some sort of competition for resources. The last dispersion pattern that we're going to take a look at are individuals who are randomly dispersed, where the position of one individual is completely independent from the others. For example, seeds may be carried by the wind to a random location. If that location has the necessary environmental factors, if there is enough food, water, nutrients, shelter, then that plant could potentially live there and, in fact, thrive there. And why might this random pattern appear? Well, it might appear when there's no interaction between individuals for any sort of competition. So here's another summary of the different patterns of dispersion. Again, you've got clumped, where your individuals aggregate together, where this dispersion pattern is mostly due to resource distribution. Maybe they are clumping together to hunt. Next, you've got a uniform dispersion pattern where individuals are evenly spaced. And this dispersion pattern is usually due to the interaction between individuals. They're competing for resources. The last dispersion pattern is random, where the position of one individual is completely independent of the positions of the other individuals. This type of dispersion pattern would occur if there are no interactions within that population. So here's again the clumped dispersion when individuals aggregate in patches, for example, fish. Here's uniform dispersion when individuals are evenly spaced, as seen in this population of penguins. In random dispersion, the position of each individual is independent of the others, as seen in these trees. So if I wanted to calculate the density of 5 moose in a township of 24,000 square miles, and I also wanted to calculate the density of 10,000 oak trees in 25 square miles, we know that the likelihood of running into a moose in that 24,000 square mile area is pretty remote. However, seeing an oak tree in that 25 square mile area is pretty likely. So the density of the population within the 25 square miles would be much higher than the density found in the township when we're looking at moose. So now let's see if we can guess the dispersion patterns found in these pictures of different populations. Well, the penguins have a uniform spacing pattern. These dandelions have a random spacing pattern, and these starfish are clumped. So the dispersion of individuals and populations provide more information regarding the interaction of these individuals with other individuals as well as their environment, whereas the measurement of density helps approximate numbers within that population.